All right, this is Ray with School of Racing Graphics. In this demo video, I'm going to go through the Asphalt late model illustration number 3. We just launched it here at the beginning of the year in 2022. I just want to go through and show you how easy it is to use. It's going to be much different than our previous launches. As a matter of fact, is any illustration you see on our website that has a red car with a silver box is going to be set up like this one. And all the other illustrations that we have on the website are being updated to be set up like this one. So it'll be really easy to change the color, really easy to add the graphics, and really just any modifications that you want to make to the illustration. Before we get started in the file, I'll just show you the folder really quick here. So in the folder, we're going to have a few different things. This is basic structure of most SRGFX folders when you purchase anything from us. So you're going to have your Adobe Illustrator file, CorelDRAW file, an EPS that will open up in almost any vector editing software. You'll have a FlexiSign file, which should also open up in Vinyl Express, LXI. They're basically, they both work the same and use they'll both use the FlexiSign file. Then you're going to have a PDF. Again, pretty universal to all vector design software. Then you're also going to have a layered Photoshop file and an SVG file for the free program called Inkscape. You can get that at inkscape.org. If you use Affinity Designer, you'll want to open up the Adobe Illustrator file. And then in the legacy folder, you're going to see we have the older versions of Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, and FlexiSign. So this goes down to version 10. If you use FlexiSign version 8, I don't recommend getting this illustration only because it has transparent layers, and anything under Flexi 10 doesn't deal with transparency well. You might be able to get it open, but I can't guarantee that you'll have the type of results you're looking for. Okay, so let's get over to the illustration. First, we'll just look at the layer structure. So we have all the highlights and all of the shadows on just 2 different layers. So you can just turn those off, and then you'll be able to get to all of the base shapes that are within the illustration. So let's say, for instance, I had a blue car. I could select all the base shapes, change them to blue, and then turn the highlights and shadows back on. And so what I'll do is I'm going to select in the layer panel, I have one called body panels. And I could select one of these over here, eyedropper that, or if I'm in Adobe Illustrator, I can use a global swatch. And I don't really even need to have anything selected in order to change that. So I can come over here, change the color to something else, and you can see it'll update that, and it'll update down here. And I'll tell you why I did that here in just a second. So we'll go to a more blue global color, something a little muddier, something like that, a little darker, I guess you could say. And then you can see, turn your shadows and your light layers back on. Everything pops off really well. If your highlights are too bright, or you don't like them, or they're not bright enough, you can duplicate the layer and lay it on top of the other one, or you can turn the layer down a little bit in your transparency options, which should be pretty universal to any design software. Oh, and I just killed my Adobe Illustrator, so give it just 1 second. So while that's opening back up, I'll just show you over here on the website. It's right here, $74.99. You get the full illustration. All you have to do is add your graphics and then set it up for screen printing. And then also I have a course on the website called Mastering Illustration Wrap Graphics, and you can see all the information here. Essentially what this course does is it walks you through how to add graphics to an illustration so that they're easy to apply. They look like they belong on the illustration. They don't look warped and distorted. So it's a pretty foolproof method. It is mastering Adobe Illustrator, or it is, mastering. It is Adobe Illustrator specific. I work in Adobe Illustrator. I can use Corel, I can use Flexi, I can use those other design softwares. I prefer Adobe Illustrator. I think it has more tools, and the tools are easier to use once you know them. All right, so I'm going to go back. I've got my Illustrator open. That course you can get for $149.99. If you are a premium member, you get it for $99 or $100, essentially $99.99, and it is it's in your account forever. So once you've got it, you've got it. You don't have to watch it in in a specific amount of time. But I basically set up an illustration. I provide an illustration. You go through, and you apply the graphics to the illustration, and then I show you how to switch them out really quickly by setting. You can set them up in a way where you can switch them out really quickly once you have it set up, and so it's a really awesome course. Okay, so I'm going to go back, open up my illustration. Hopefully I don't kill it again, but so here we go. We got the highlight, shadow layer. We're going to turn them off. We're going to change the car back to, I'm going to go a lighter blue, I think, this time. Hopefully my Illustrator doesn't die again. I have been running it all day, and I probably need to restart my computer. So we'll go with a super unique color here. We'll just go with green. Okay, and so you can see there. Now, you can also change the plexiglass color. If you don't like the plexiglass color, you can see these swatches down here. And so you can select, say, select, same, and then fill color, and it'll select that dark blue fill color if you're in a different design software. So FlexiSign, CorelDRAW specifically have this select similar or select same fill color. And so that way you're not having to go through and pick through the entire illustration and find that color. You know, only 3 blue colors exist for the plexiglass. Maybe you want them to be black or just a lighter color blue or whatever it is you want to do. Now in Illustrator, you have a whole different option. You could just go and select the whole layer, and then you can go to edit colors, and then you can say convert to grayscale. And that doesn't convert the file to grayscale. It essentially just takes those shapes and turns them into shades of black and white or gray. So I'll go ahead and undo that. All right, so we'll turn our layers back on. You can see. Now I just want to show you really quick, not anything incredibly intuitive, so this will be a quick and dirty, but like if I wanted to add a number to this car in graphics, so essentially what I would need is all of the wrap graphics that are going to go to this car. So let's say that this car is number 16. I'm just going to pick a font really quick, nothing super pretty, prettier than what's there. Okay, we'll go with that. AmeriCap Eternal. Okay, so we'll create outlines. And then on these asphalt cars, they're typically the number is leaning forward. So I'm going to go ahead and lean it forward 25 degrees like that. And because we're using a teal car, I'm going to turn it white. And I'm going to do an offset path. And we'll just do 3 pixels and see what that does. So we're going to want more than that. So let's go 8 pixels. Let's actually bring that together, and I'm going to fill that. So we'll go 8 pixels, and that work? Path, offset path. No, we don't want that. I accidentally put the wrong effect on there. Okay, there we go. So we'll go to effect, path, offset path. Sorry, I'm kind of working through a mistake I did there. And we're going to go 8 pixels. And what this is going to allow me to do is take the if I don't like what I did, I can change it extremely easily without having to rework the whole thing or redo every step. So I'll nudge this a little bit closer like that. And right here, I am actually just guessing. I'm not going to be doing anything official here, so don't take this as the way to do it. But let's just guess on the side of Asphalt late model, right? So I will take this. I'm going to duplicate that actually and turn it this color. I'm going to turn it a color I'm not using just so I can kind of see what I'm doing here easily. And I'll set that to the outside like that. And if we were to put this on the side of a asphalt late model, I would want it to follow the correct aspect ratio. So even if or not aspect ratio, the correct perspective. And so even if I'm not placing all the numbers and all the sponsors, I typically still like to take the whole side of the car and do each individual piece. So I'd grab the sponsor, I'd grab the decals up here, but I would always grab this rectangle. So let's say like the wheel well opening is right here. So I might pull this back, and then we'll say the back of the car's here because the wheel well opening is here. Now, typically when I do this, I have like the full size panels with everything laid out on it. And so it's really easy to see, but I'm actually guessing here. So, and then what I'm going to do is open up the transform tool, and I'm just going to, well, before I do that, I'm going to get it as close as possible. So I'm going to bring it down here. And then I'm going to get the transform tool. And I go through all of this in my course so that you can see exactly how I'm doing it and what I think while I'm doing it. And I'm going to just take this corner and I'm going to put it here. And I'm going to take that corner and put it there. And you're just going to keep putting them in until they line up. And so you can see my size that I guessed wasn't perfect, right? It wasn't great because that number should be a little bigger than that. So I could technically, because I'm guessing here, I could do this. Just line it up with the bottom of that door, something like that. Bring that in. And sometimes you got to zoom in a little bit to see what you're doing. It's wanting to, like that, and like that. And what I like to do is so I got my body panels here. I'm going to take and make a new layer, and I'm going to call this graphics, okay? And so I always make that new layer. I don't include that in the file because I don't like putting empty layers in a file so that it's just not confusing. So you have to create that yourself. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw that in there. And so now you can see there it is up there. Okay, now if I would have wanted that to distort so you can see how thick that outline is, what I would have had to do is go to Preferences and General, and then turn off Scale, Strokes, and Effects. And then everything would have changed with the number and all of the pieces. So actually, I'll go through, I'll undo what I was doing there. Okay, so we're back to where we're at. And I'll make sure that that's still on because I did undo and I can't remember if it's going to undo that or not. Nope, so we got that off now. All right. Or no, what did I do? I think that needs to be on. Yeah, it needs to be on. I shouldn't have turned that off. It actually did the right thing. Okay, so we're doing this twice. That's fun. All right, so body panels, new layer, graphics here. And, you know, I know I'm going kind of fast in the video. You just get used to doing these kinds of things to the point where it's just second nature and you're not thinking about every step anymore. You're just you know exactly where to go and what to do. So if you're new to this and it seems intimidating, it's just like anything else. It's like muscle memory. The more you do it, the better you get at it. The better you get at it, the more comfortable you are, until it's just second nature. Like, you know, riding a bike. You don't think about how to ride a bike once you know how to ride a bike, right? Okay. I'm only going to do the number. I'm not going to sit here and do a whole bunch of sponsors and things like that. And that's pretty good for guesswork there, you could say. And if I feel like, I just feel like the thickness on that is just a little too much. So now I can go ahead and I can ungroup that because that's official. Now what I should have did is actually made I should have made a duplicate and kept my 16 up here because I always like to be able to get back to base. And so let's go back just a little bit. And it looks like it's leaning out a little, and that's partially because I skewed it. So I'm going to go back to E, right? And that's this tool. And pull it in just a little bit like that until it looks a little more natural. And then I'll show you one more trick to actually get a even more rested look in the number so it doesn't look so stiff because it looks a little stiff, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and ungroup that. And then now I can go here because I've offset this and I kept the effect on there, and I can take this down a little bit. So I can take it down a little at a time. 1, or I can go 0, 2, and these are not official. They're not official numbers, so don't think that's the way Ray does that, but I'm just trying to get it to look a little normal. Okay, and then, let's say I had a very simple graphic. So I can turn my highlights and shadows back on, and there you can see everything's under there. It'll screen print really well because the white is just white, the black is just black, that dark is just a shade of black, and at a certain opacity. So I can go ahead and close that down. Also, if you guys have comments while I'm working, you can feel free to just ask me any questions about design in general, this illustration, any illustration, just anything in general. So now what I could do is I could take this here, and I'm just making something up now, so this is not official, but like, let's say I had a graphic that just went from front to back like that. Okay, so I'm going to just put it on there. This would be a really simple, like the real simple, like straight line graphic, right? And now what I'm going to do is take all my body panels, okay, and I'm going to go ahead and group them together. And then I'm going to take that group and I'm going to duplicate it up to graphics here. And I'm going to bring them all together as one compound shape, like so. And now that becomes my clipping mask. And so now I could set it on top of that and make clipping mask. And let's see, it did something weird there. What was it doing? It's all, anytime I'm doing a live video, it like does weird things. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can clean these up for a second here. There's also a second way to make clipping masks where I can make a mask like this. Oh, let's see. Okay, do that. Oh, I need it all to be in the same layer. I see I've got different layers going on. Pretty sure that that's going to be what it is. Okay, now it's just hating on me. There we go. Sometimes you just got to get your sometimes you just got to get your layers cleaned out. And so the way I had it set up, it was not liking any of that. And so that blows out a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like a little too dark. So I can bring that down, bring that over here like that. Again, this is nothing official. I might even lighten it up just for the sake of detail. And now when I go ahead and turn on my light and shadow layer, it all looks pretty normal. It looks like it belongs pretty well. I can lock those down and then edit my graphics some more. So again, if you want more details on how to properly, because there's a proper way to do it, add graphics to an illustration, I really highly recommend taking this course because I show you all the different ways to keep aspect ratio. Now, the one thing I'm going to do to the number to soften it up just a little bit so that it doesn't look so stiff, because no panel on a race car is ever going to be perfectly straight. You can even see here it's got a little bend to it. Now, we don't got to get so picky that we're following that bend perfectly, even though there is a way to do that. I'm not going to attempt to do that in this video. That's just outside the scope of what I'm doing. But I can do is go to Effect, and then I'm not going to do a ton, but I want to do a little bit of a arc on it, right, like that. And I'm going to set it to vertical so it's bouncing out a little bit, right? Now 50 is way too high. But like, even if we just do just like 1 or 2 or something like that, it gives it just a little roundness, which actually gives it a little bit of life. All art, you should always think of that way, is that nothing should ever be, especially when you're looking at something like a car or anything like that, it doesn't ever have to be exactly perfectly straight. Okay. And then I'm going to introduce one more color. We'll bring this green in, but I'm going to turn it more of a lime kind of fluorescent deal like that. And then we'll grab this 16 and I'm going to offset this white, and I'm going to do it negative 1. And we don't know yet because we haven't changed the color of this, like that. There we go. Now we got a little bit of that color working in there. And then I can take this guy here, just move it up a little bit, and then turn it also that same color, send it to the back. Now I got a nice little stripe there. And that same method that I used there with putting that 16 on the car, I would go ahead and do that with all the graphics and everything, but I would do them individually. So I wouldn't go ahead, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't try to put the graphic and the number on at the same time. I would do the graphic, then I would do the number, and then I would do the sponsors. So each individual piece is getting worked in until everything works out. So that's the Asphalt late model illustration number 3 demo. If you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments. Or you can also hit us up on srgfx.com/support.